Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for organizing this hearing, and thank you to our witnesses for their time and for their service. As the administration said in its 2018 Nuclear Posture Review, the Non-Proliferation Treaty, or NPT, remains fundamental to the global non-proliferation regime. We must ensure our non-proliferation tools are strong and varied enough to meet challenges from bad actors like Iran and North Korea. At a recent meeting of the United Nations Disarmament and International Security Committee, Russia and China voted against calls for North Korea to re-enter the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Yesterday, remember, meanwhile, North Korea sent 2 short-range ballistic missiles into the Sea of Japan. There's so much going on, we don't even hear about this activity anymore. Mr. Rademacher, how seriously are Russia and China undermining efforts to rein in the Kim regime's nuclear ambitions? And how can the United States use the upcoming NPT review to restore broad international support for North Korean denuclearization?
Thank you, Congresswoman. It's a very good question. I address it in my prepared remarks. You know, there's a refrain that we hear very regularly from the State Department, from our U.S. officials who deal with China on the question of North Korea. And what they always come back saying is, you know, the Chinese, they want to help, their heart's in the right place, but they've got these constraints, they're doing the best they can, we're going to try and get them to do some more. And I've heard that so many times.
Over and over
for
and
so many,
over
for
again.
so many years that I've stopped believing it. You know, I mentioned in my testimony that in the 1970s, South Korea had a nuclear weapons program. And they were our ally. When we found out about it, we went to them and said, you've got to stop this.
Right.
You want us to defend you? We're telling you, you don't need nuclear weapons. You can rely on our nuclear weapons. You can rely on our security guarantee. You have to stop this. And they did. You know, North Korea is a treated ally of China. They have a mutual defense treaty. China is in the position to do to North Korea what we did with South Korea. They've just never done it. And they have a lot of good stories about, oh, we're worried about refugees, we're worried about economic collapse. You know, the reality is that if you assess it, this nuclear problem on the Korean Peninsula, they decided a long time ago it was our problem, not their problem. It works out to their advantage in a whole bunch of ways. It makes it makes South Korea and Japan much more dependent on China.
Thank you. And I have some more questions. I have to say, let's hope at this NPT review we can restore this broad international support for this to move forward. Under the NPT, nuclear weapons states may not help non-nuclear countries develop nuclear weapons systems. Pakistan, which has so far refused to join the NPT, was involved in the development of North Korea's growing nuclear capabilities. Mr. Rademacher, how can the international community pressure Pakistan to adhere to the goals of the NPT?
I guess I would say candidly that will be a long-term project because...
Hell will freeze over, is that what you're saying? Yeah, okay.
I mean, the NPT has been a phenomenally successful treaty. You know, really, there are only, at this point, 4 countries that have never signed it. One of them is South Sudan, and that, you know, that's a problem that will take care of itself. But India, Pakistan, and Israel have not signed it. They're probably not on track to do so anytime soon. As between India and Pakistan, you know, both countries have nuclear weapons. They are, you know, security threats to one another. They perceive threats from one another. I don't think the international community has a solution that we've identified that will persuade those two countries to give up nuclear weapons.
In 1995, NPT party states agreed to establish a zone free of weapons of mass destruction, or WMDs, in the Middle East. Today, tragically, we are seeing states like Syria actively engaging in the proliferation of WMDs with the support of Russia and Iran, both NPT signatories. Dr. Smith, How should the United States push for progress in the WMD non-proliferation at the review, and what mechanisms exist to bring Russia and Iran into line? In 5 seconds.
Thank you, Congresswoman. In 5 seconds, I'll be very short. I would go back to where you started your remarks, ma'am, with the other tools that are available. So regarding the NPT, I think we've spoken a lot, but
Right.
there are a number of other tools that have been brought to bear in the Middle East through the cooperative threat reduction programs, proliferation security initiative.
Right.
There's a long list of those. We need to continue to leverage those on all ends of that threat spectrum.
Great, thank you. My time has expired. I yield back.
Thank you.